All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rekakadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Now, the disciples in Matthew 24 and Luke 21 asked Yahweh Shah, who they ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, when was the end of the world and what signs they can look for. But Apostle John in Revelation 18, he gave a clear indication of when the end of the world would come about. Revelation 18 and 17, it say, "For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, or to come to nothing. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off." So he's giving clear indication that the ships is going to have a problem. Those trading with the ships, using the ships for cargo and merchandise, that's when the problem is going to set in. Jump down to verse 19, he said, "And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city," talking about America, "wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, and for in 1 hour she is made desolate." So in that 1 hour, just talking about a short period of time. A short period of time, all of the merchants and the people that trade by the sea using these ships, they're going to be weeping because this is going to be the destruction of America. Now, not only that, when you look at the freight cargo ships, the average price was $2,000. Now that the pestilence have hit, Revelation 16 talk about the pestilence being the end. When the pestilence hit, then you had the price go up from $2,000 to $20,000. So that's how the great riches came to naught in a short period of time, in a matter of a year or two. In a matter of 2 years, the price of trading by the sea on these cargo ships or merchandise ships has come from or risen from 2,000 to 20,000. So the merchants is crying. That's what you get. Revelation 18 and 11. It say the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. Because you don't have ships that's going to bring the merchandise, and you can't even afford the ships, to pay the ships to do it. You can't afford to pay the ships to do it. You got over there in China, they locking everything down, and most of the goods come from China. And so the ship situation is the needle that broke the camel's back, how they say. It was the last straw. And so you have also Esdras. Esdras was in the Bible. Let's see, Esdras is, let me get the 2 books is in between. I think it's before Nehemiah, and it's after Second Chronicles. It's spelled Ezra, Ezra. So Ezra, during the exile, when the Israelites was in exile, he wrote 2 books. Now, when you got these Edomites having control of the books, the Roman Catholic Church, not even mainly the Roman Catholic Church, because in the Catholic Bible they have Ezra's. They have both of the books. But when you get to 1881 until Reconstruction over here in America, that's when they took Second Esdras out. But Second Esdras has many details on the end of the world. Now, Second Esdras, chapter 6, they ask the same question, they ask the same question pretty much. Or Esdras asked the same question that the disciples asked Yahushua. Chapter 6, he says, in verse 7, in Second Esdras, then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Meaning, what shall be the end of the time? Or when shall be the end of the first and the following of it, and the beginning of it that following? So he let it be known what's going to be the end of the times, and this first kingdom that we dealing with, when is that going to end? And he said unto me, for Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Esau were born of him. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So he let you know Esau is going to be the end of the world. He's going to be ruling the world when it comes, and his kingdom is going to end. Okay, so when you go further down, it tells you what's going to happen. Let's see here, verse 20. He said, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. That's talking about the internet, the Facebook, the Instagram. It's going to be worldwide. The truth going to be spreading all around. Then in verse 22, he let you know about these ships, or the merchandise. Verse 22, he said, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and full storehouses shall be found empty. Full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, because in 2018, the storehouses was pretty much full. They had stores was closing. Like in 2016, 7,000 stores closed. 2018, 8,000 stores closed. You see, 2019, 9,000 stores closed. And so it was leading up to something even greater. Then in 2019, you had this pestilence hit, and the storehouses was even worse. They were certified, found empty, no tissue, no cleaning products, bleach, Lysol. You had many shortages. And so they promised that they're going to refill the stores and everything was going to go back to normal. Now we 2 years later, and it's the same situation. They trying to shut it down again. And when you got the ships that with the merchandise, their prices is going up every day. So from 2019, when the pestilence hit, you had the prices skyrocket. And so this is where we at right now.
Americans love to buy even their favorite food, their cars, and their much-needed electronic equipment. In the stores, the shelves are often empty due to an increased demand for supplies, combined with shipping and manufacturing delays. It seems that dark clouds are gathering once again, threatening us with another period of extensive shortages and explosive prices. What we have seen from inflation so far was just a hint of what is coming next. This month, the U.S. inflation rate has reached levels not seen since 2008. Broken supply chains certainly have not helped with that equation. That means products people need and want are again in short supply. And we all have witnessed what happens when consumers hear that more shortages are coming. Since the beginning of the year, Americans have been facing a relentless rise in consumer prices, and even though politicians and policymakers have been trying to reassure us that those increases are only a temporary blip, it doesn't feel so reassuring to consumers who are seeing the prices for so many goods surging so much and so fast. Compared with the same time last year, consumer prices rose 5.6%. Leading the surge was the cost of vehicle rentals, which went up by a shocking 75% year on year, while the price of a new car was up 6.4% in the past year. That is the largest jump since 1982. Rents were also up, skyrocketing house prices, forcing many people to remain in their apartments. At the same time, restaurant prices increased by 0.8%, which may sound relatively small, but marked the largest increase since 1981. Industry analysts said this is happening because the costs of food and wages are much higher, and those increased costs are being passed to consumers. According to Kathy Bostianchitz, an economist at Oxford Economics, price increases stemming from the reopening of the economy and ongoing supply chain bottlenecks will keep the rate of inflation elevated. However, those who still believe the reopening will be translated into an economic recovery.
I didn't think it would work at first, but I'm getting
disappointment because the growing inflation is holding the recovery back, canceling out most of the benefits that workers might have expected from higher pay, and also increasing pressure on the Federal Reserve, which may have to hike interest rates sooner than expected to fight runaway inflation. At the end of 2020, the economy was expected to expand in 2021 at its fastest pace since the 1980s. But now all we can see are signs that it may be slumping again. While supply chain bottlenecks continue to dent manufacturing growth, consumer sentiment has sharply collapsed in recent weeks amid concerns about rising inflation. Already, higher prices are making it harder for people to afford the same products, and the latest reports show that retail sales fell more than expected in July due to shortages, increased prices, and the fact that the boost from stimulus checks has faded, suggesting a slowdown in economic growth early in the third quarter. Businesses across the United States are also growing less confident in the economic recovery, according to a survey released on Tuesday. On top of part and product shortages, as well as late deliveries, companies are facing labor shortages that have been compromising their ability to operate at full capacity. The National Federation of Independent Business Optimism Index dropped 2.8 points to a reading of 99.7 in July, erasing all of June's gain. Business owners are losing confidence in the strength of the economy and expect a slowdown in job creation. Bill Dunkelberg, the NFIB's chief economist, said in a statement, As owners look for qualified workers, they are also reporting that supply chain disruptions are having an impact on their businesses, Dunkelberg added. Ultimately, owners can only sell more and recover from the losses suffered in 2020 if they acquire more supplies and inventories from their supply chains, and if they have personnel to handle their products until it makes it to the shelves. But the strains they are currently facing illustrate the growing imbalances between supply and demand, and how the Fed's policies ended up making things worse by artificially fueling consumer demand without boosting manufacturing growth, resulting in shortages and resulting in elevated prices, and also creating a historic labor shortage at a time the economy desperately needs more workers. Almost 57% of businesses in the NFIB survey said they had few or no qualified applicants for open jobs in July. They also flagged inflation as a worry, 44% planning to increase prices in the next 3 months. Now that is a record high reading. Amongst them, restaurants have been the hardest hit by product shortages and inflation. According to a separate survey, nationwide, 46% of restaurant owners reported having a hard time getting all of the food and products they need from suppliers. The CEO for Cisco, that's a global distributor, wrote in a letter to its customers that demand has rebounded earlier and stronger than expected. There are labor and supply chain shortages, and that the volume of orders is regularly exceeding capacity, saying service has slipped and they're working to improve. In Portland, the owner of Mother's Bistro and Bar, Lisa Schroeder, revealed in an interview that even the most basic products such as lettuce and spinach have become impossible to find, and that companies are limiting how much she can buy and how often she can get it. It's just everywhere. We're just seeing shortages, she stressed. In every sector of the economy, shortages continue to erupt as the new virus outbreak messes with shipping, demand, supply, and all the other levers of global trade. One expert said the pervasive shortages are to last well into 2022. For automakers, the situation has been brutal, with about 17 auto factories in the U.S. being forced to halt production in recent weeks over the scarcity of semiconductors, according to Seraph Consulting, which is advising automakers on the shortages. General Motors had to stop making most of its full-size pickup trucks due to the lack of chips and parts. The great computer chip shortage of 2021 shows no signs of slowing, and it's leading to billions in losses in the automotive industry.
Revelation 18:8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. So America is going to be the end of ESAU's kingdom, and things are only going to get worse. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rekakadash. Double honors to the elders pushing the truth. Peace to the elect, all the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, descendants of slaves. Our kingdom is at hand. Shalom.